Hi, hello, and how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative, and welcome to the Wednesday night newsroom, that gathering that we do so well. We get together in the middle of the week. We have survived hump day. We have made it to another middle of the week, my friends. Yes, that is right. And your reward for all that effort, that blood, that sweat, that determination, your reward for all of that is that we get to gather together to talk about some of the things that are going on in the news. We get to give our views, and we try and figure out this crazy thing that we call life. My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes known as the kid in the lid, sometimes called the chap in the cap, sometimes called the beau in the chapeau. On occasion, I'm referred to as the common man with common sense, but in this moment, right now, on planet Earth, I am known as your host. We're on YouTube, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on every form of social media out there. Well, most of them anyway. But anyway, if you're not a subscriber to this channel, please do me some favors right now. Right now, please go out and subscribe to my channel on YouTube and Rumble. Also, follow me on Twitter. You can find the link down there on the bottom, the Front Porch C1. That's where you can catch me on the X, or the Twitter, as friends call it these days. And, subscribe to the channel on YouTube and Rumble. Subscribe to me on Twitter. Hit the like button. Leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment in chat. Share the link around to your friends. Go crazy out there. And let's make this going little concern a going big concern. All right, all right, all right. Let us see who is in the house so far, my friends out there. Well, the OG Wingnuts are in the house right now. Oh, my goodness, they are definitely here. Let us see what they have to say about this, that, and the other thing. Well, WWG1's been out there posting some memes. We'll be sharing some of those with you here shortly. Let's see. TBA says, let's see. He says, you don't have enough time tonight to cover all the news. Well, now that is true, because there is stuff breaking everywhere. It is patently absurd, all the stuff that's going on out there. It's crazy. It is straight crazy, all the news that is happening right now. I can't even begin to cover it all. It's nuts. It is totally nuts out there. So, yeah, feel free to jump in. Tell us who you are. Let's find out what you've got to say. And, we'll do all kinds of craziness out there. Now, I know there are people out there on YouTube, and probably you're commenting, but as of yet, I can't see them. So I don't know what's going on with that. It may be a temporary YouTube malfunction. Don't know what to say there, but we know you're there. We know you're watching. Your comments will come up soon. So don't worry, friends. We know you're out there. Wingnuts ruled the Rumble channel, says TBA. Well, now that is true. TBA also asked me the question, Brian, are you going to time your news nights to coincide with the congressional hearings coming up in August, September, October? That's a really good question. I hadn't thought about it at this point. But I just may try and do it. I may try and do some more live streams through the week, depending upon what's out there. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm always looking, I've got some things going on in my life right now, changes in life, nothing bad, all good. But yeah, if I can find a way to do it, I'll try. I will do my best to do so. Hang on, folks. I'm going to step out of the room for 1 second. I don't know what exactly is going on right now with StreamYard, and no, TBA, I'm not doing that. I am not doing that, sir. I'm going to step out of there. I don't know what's going on with YouTube right now, but it will not show comments. So if you folks are making comments out there on the YouTube side, I cannot see them yet. So I don't know what's going on. I tell you what, let me do this. Well, the YouTubers could come over to Rumble if they want to. I have no objection to that, but I know that there's folks out on YouTube, but yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. So hang on, folks. I'm going to step out for 1 second and see if maybe that makes a change to things. So don't go anywhere. I will literally be right back. Okay, here we go. Now we're talking. Some of the comments are starting to come through. Good evening, Z Highness, my darling. Ah, yeah. All right. No. Ruben, it's all good. I just stepped out for 1 second. I was just dipping out for 1 second to see if I can get the comments to come up. Now they're starting to come in. YouTube is very strange indeed. No, we're here. We're here. Don't worry. We're not going anywhere. I just stepped out for 1 second. Wanted to see, just want to see what was going on. But yeah, the comments are up. They're running. We're good. Matter of fact, let me put out a real quick note on Twitter. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. 1 second. Be right with you. Oh, my word. Hang on, folks. 1 second. Okay. All right. Get that posted out there to everybody. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Like I said, it's been a very strange day. So yeah, Ruben's in the house. He's doing good. Brother, I've been seeing your posts on YouTube. Keep on fighting, my friend. Keep on fighting. I love you with much love. All right. Gonna be a really good show this evening. Glad to have all of you here. There's really nothing like live shows, huh? Yeah, really, no kidding. TBA tosses a lime green dildo into the Rumble chat. Sir, seriously, how untoward. You're tossing a lime green dildo? Good grief. You know, I hadn't planned on talking about this tonight, but since I sort of, shall we say, was grabbed by the hook and pulled into it, I feel sorry for because the ladies are out there trying to play basketball. They're judged on a whole different set of standards, perhaps than, male players are. But it's like, really? Just absolutely insane what's going on out there. Totally crazy. Okay. All right. Let's get down to business. We'll start off our show, as we are wont to do, with the Merry Memes section of the program. And as y'all know, undoubtedly, it has been a scorcher of a summer so far. Heat wave, record heat everywhere you turn. And, some people say the federal government doesn't do enough about these things. Well, I disagree. The federal government is now engaged very hard on this question, and they are doing something about it. Matter of fact, they're doing something about it to the extent they're even starting a special government program to try and get all this stuff straightened out. Now, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, and maybe you have heard about this, maybe you haven't yet, but the good news is the federal government is indeed on the case. They're trying to make it happen. As a matter of fact, they have started a Bureau of Imaginary Problems with specifically a climate change division. So if you were worried that the federal government was not doing enough to try and resolve these issues that we're dealing with right now, fear not, my friends. The feds are on the case. Totally on the case. That's what I say. Totally on the case. Oh my goodness. So there you go. Never let it be said that Donald Trump is not working it from every angle. There you go. Anywho. All right, what else do we have out there? What's going on in the world, I tell you? Oh, by the way, have you guys heard about the early sales on Kamala Harris's new book? For those of you who may not have heard about this yet, Kamala Harris has launched a book tour to promote the sale of a new literary effort that she's written. It's called 107 Days. It's her account of what happened in her presidential bid last fall. And, book companies, publishing houses are always looking for ways to try and boost the sales. and, get a better return. Because, I mean, let's be honest, you're laying out a whole lot of money here. I mean, there's an advance for the book that's given to the author. You're taking an enormous risk if you're a publishing house. You don't know if it's going to work or not. So these publishing houses, they get very creative in terms of the incentives that they give people to try and buy these books. Well, the folks behind Kamala Harris's efforts, I think, have come up with an extraordinarily creative way to help her get over the hump in terms of sales of her new book. With every purchase, you might find a special surprise inside. I've heard that her new book is very popular in America's prisons. I don't know why. I did not know that people housed by the Bureau of Prisons were big into political science, but you know what? Maybe they're finding inspiration in this book, as are many Americans who are purchasing Kamala Harris's new literary effort. So we raise a glass to Kamala, and, one entrepreneur to another, I say, good on you, sister. Keep up the fight. So there you go. I mean, girl got to hustle these days. She ain't got a job. She ain't got a job. She got to do what she got to do out there, man. She got to do what she got to do. All right, what else is going on in the news? Oh, by the way, it's always been talked about, rumored, referred to, what have you, that there was always a certain amount of tension between the Clinton family and the Obamas, okay? I mean, when Hillary lost in 2016, there were recriminations, as you might expect. The tensions, the animosities go back many, many years together. And a lot of people said that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton never really liked each other. Okay. Well, we've now got some evidence to prove how much they really don't like each other. Matter of fact, I don't know if you guys have seen this headline or not, but man, it's gotten so bad. They're both dipping from the same well, so to speak. I mean, I don't know how this is going to, I don't know how the third party contractor is going to handle this situation. I mean, you take X amount of money from one person, you take X amount of money from the other, and it's like, hey, can you really in good conscience take the contract if you know that it's going to cost you money on the other end? I mean, seriously? Or perhaps better to ask the question, are you in one of those situations where you take the money from both sides and, you do the deal? I don't know. Well, TBA's got a good point. You get the money up front from both of them and you just solved your problem, man. So, yeah. WWG1's chiming in on that. He says, yeah, take care of both of them, fulfill both contracts. I think you guys are onto something over there. I really do. So, we'll see. We will see. We will see indeed. Oh, yes. Lots of tension between those two. I don't know, man. I don't know how that's going to work out, but it's rough. It's rough. Oh, by the by, there was an interview, speaking of Hillary, and I don't know why. Well, I think I do know why, too. There was an interview that Hillary Clinton did on The View shortly before they went on hiatus, but for some reason it never aired, and I don't know why. However, it may very well be that part of that interview was so controversial, so raw, so honest, that the folks at ABC didn't feel like, in good conscience, they could show it. I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with. I mean, it's just, I mean, you've got to see this to believe it. But we snagged part of it, and we're going to show it to you right now. Folks, check out part of the interview with Hillary Clinton on The View that the ABC folks never aired.
So anyway, as I was trying to choke Jeffrey Epstein to death, he kept trying to spank my ass over and over again. And I was like, no, Jeffrey, I'm trying to kill you. God damn it, stay still. And then I told Bill about it. And he's like, we can play that game, honey. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you, Bill?
You know, I now think I begin to understand why it is that that ABC didn't air this interview. I mean, call me crazy if you wish, but I think I'm starting to figure it out. Maybe she was just a little too honest, you know? I don't know, man. I don't know. I am just a humble commentator on the news. What do I know? We'll see. All right, what else is going on out there? What else can we talk about? What else can be laughed at? Hey, have you guys heard the news? And this is a little bit controversial, I have to tell you. Donald Trump, and I don't know how he's pulling this off, by the way. I hear that Donald Trump has got himself an endorsement deal. I didn't think presidents were allowed to do this sort of thing. Really. It looks like that Donald Trump has got himself an endorsement deal. Matter of fact, he was up on the roof of the White House the other day, kind of, trying out different lines for ads, different pitches, that sort of thing. And I think you recognize the company once you see the pitch that he was trying. Apparently, he's doing an ad for Ricola. I mean, who knew that the cough drop company was going to try and pursue Donald Trump as hard as they are? I mean, to the point he might be in trouble legally over this one. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know. We'll see what happens with the old boy, but yeah, it looks like Trump's got himself an endorsement deal, and he's going to be doing ads for Ricola. So we'll see how all this works out. I don't know whether to be insulted or happy with that comment, Ruben, but thank you. Oh, goodness me. But thank you, Ruben. I genuinely do appreciate that. All right. What else is going on out there? What else is happening? Oh, by the way, did you guys hear about the hunger strike that's taking place in Florida right now? Yeah. I was not aware of this, but apparently there are a group of protesters down in Florida that are so unhappy with the conditions of their lives that they've banded together and they are engaging in their hunger strike. And apparently it's been going on now for a few days. It made local news down in Florida, and now it's breaking national news across the country. And if you guys are wondering what I'm referring to, well, we've actually got part of an interview, or at least pictures of it. So, Ruben, I saw that comment. We're going to get into that. But yeah, this hunger strike that's going on down in Florida, this thing's pretty serious, man. I mean, apparently they're into day 4 of this, and they're protesting over, better food, better, working conditions. I guess maybe their union, I guess. I don't know, man. But yeah, they're on a hunger strike, and they're like, we're not eating until we get better everything. So I don't know. We'll keep an eye on this, folks. We'll see where this thing goes. But if you have friends down in Florida, maybe maybe somehow they'll find themselves involved in this. Hopefully not. But if they do, say a prayer for your friends. I mean, because this thing's taking on a life of its own, man. I mean, I don't know where this is going here, but this thing. This thing right over here, this thing seems pretty serious. Well, yes, believe it or not, it truly is. It truly is. And good evening, my dear. Mwah. Oh, and you lovely lady. Mwah. Love it when y'all are able to show up. Glad to have y'all here. Oh, and Ruben, a fist bump to you, my friend. And one of them, young lady. All right, caught up on all the kisses and fist bumps, I think. All right, what else is going on in the world? What else can we talk about? What else can we make commentary over? Oh, oh, mm. You know, talking about hunger and food and that sort of thing. Sometimes restaurants get blamed for things that absolutely are not their fault. Truly, and don't get me wrong. I mean, there are moments in life when, a restaurant, for either bad service, badly cooked food, whatever, they deserve the grief that they get. However, there are moments when restaurants get blamed for something that is totally not their fault. Totally not their fault. And may I say, such is the case with this next meme. I mean, this woman is absolutely giving Outback Steakhouse down the road for supposedly forgetting her bloomin' onion. Turns out it was her fat husband who ate the bloomin' onion in the car and lied, but she didn't know how to delete the review. And you know what? If you're going to post a review like that, at least get your facts straight. Come on, lady. I mean, these folks at Outback and other restaurants, they're working hard out there. They're trying to serve you good food. What do? You don't even get your story straight. Your fat husband eats the bloomin' onion. You blame Outback for it, and now this restaurant could wind up losing business because of your negligence. I mean, seriously, help your neighbors and friends out. I mean, there could be young children working there that are children of friends of yours, and you're costing them tip money, lady. Oh my gosh, crazy, just plain crazy. So folks, before you give a restaurant a bad review, do your homework. That's all I'm saying. The age in which we live is truly remarkable. A guy like me can sit here and talk out over the internet, broadcast all over the world if people choose to tune into this fun little live stream. And I'm always amazed at what we are right now in 2025. For good and bad, by the way. And I guess sometimes it makes me ask the question, if the world stands, what will archaeologists conclude about us if they start digging around on our graves in the next, I don't know, let's say 500 years or something like that, okay? It makes you wonder, what will sociologists, archaeologists, everybody else, what conclusions will they come to about, America in the 21st century? Well, I will say this. I just hope that we are not judged too harshly by the actions of a handful of people. I mean, like I say, when archaeologists, sociologists, whatever ologists start digging around and they find our remains, all I hope is that they will look back upon us with a balanced worldview and not take the one or two graves they find to be representative of everybody from this particular point in history. Because, I mean, look, do you really want to be judged by the actions of a few? I ask you. I don't. So, if an archaeologist comes upon this grave, well, buddy, whoever you are, just take us with a grain of salt. That's all I ask. And I'm waiting for the wing nuts over on Rumble, because they ain't gonna let that one go by. WWG1 does say President Trump came out with a golden dildo to throw at the WNBA game. No, he did not, sir. My God. No, he did not come up with a golden dildo. Now, wait a minute, though. It is Trump. Well, maybe. Okay, never mind. It's possible. But I don't think if he did come up with a golden dildo, it was to throw around at an NBA game. Thank you very much. My goodness, sir. My goodness. Terrible, I say. All right. couple of more, and then we'll get down to some of the news of the day. And well, speaking of which, I'm sort of glad WWG1 you came up with that because Trump has commented apparently on the green dildo story that's breaking out at these WNBA games. He did make the statement today to whomever is taking time out of their busy schedule to buy neon green dildos in order to launch them at WNBA games. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I don't know if that's going to help or hurt the situation, but you know what? It's Trump. So what are you going to do? We'll see. Crazy. Absolutely. I mean, the things that Donald Trump focuses on is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, did you guys, before we get to our first news story then, did you guys happen to see the Bernie Sanders interview on CNN the other day? Man, this whole Sydney Sweeney thing is just taking on an absolute life of its own. I've never seen anything quite like this. Bernie Sanders was asked about this by CNN reporter Caitlin Collins, and his take on this, I don't know, man. Well, going back to the question about what is the deal with that and why green? So weird. That is a great question. That is a truly great question. Going back to the suggestion that, Trump has come up with a golden dildo to offset the lime green dildos. I don't know, dear. I have no idea. I could not even begin to tell you. So, but yeah, Bernie Sanders came out discussing this whole Sydney Sweeney situation. I tell you what, this whole thing has totally unhinged these people. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. Bernie Sanders' response to Caitlin Collins.
Stay woke.
Have you seen the Sydney Sweeney ad, Senator? And if so, what did you think about it?
Yes, I saw the ad. And okay, the young woman does have big, beautiful breasts. But let's not lose sight of what's important. We are the party of ugly, fat people. We can't just allow these Republicans to put a beautiful, white young woman with perfectly round titties in their ads, because people will like that shit. We need to keep putting fat, ugly bitches in our ads, Stay woke.
Bernie, if you're wondering why it is these days that your political party that you're a part of is going down the crapper, faster than a downhill skier in the Olympics, dude, it's comments just like that. So you can think and say and feel whatever you want, buddy, but I don't know, man. I don't know. All right. I want to thank WWG1. I want to thank everybody else for all the contributions to the Merry Meme section of the show. As always, you guys are totally awesome with the things you find out there on the internet to help us laugh our way through the day. And folks, the best way to get them to me, tag me on Twitter. Tag me on Twitter. If you find a meme that you think we really ought to put out there, I'll keep in mind, the host has final discretion, but you know what? If it's in good taste and for good fun, or even it's a little bit risque, okay, I'm probably willing to show it. Anything totally over the top, no, I reserve final rights to nope, we ain't doing it. But if it's good, clean fun, or even on the touch risque, yeah, odds are we can probably put it up as a meme. So tag me on Twitter if you find something interesting. Always happy to try and bring a laugh to everybody. So, all right, with that, let's get into some news that's going on. And this first story, I genuinely don't know what to think about this. And now I'm being serious. Okay, I'm being serious. No, you have not been vetoed many times, WWG1. No, sir, that is not true. I beg to differ with you. There have been moments, I will admit, that there have been memes that I have not put up. However, I do not think that has been many. I've always tried to be fair with your contributions to this live stream, sir. So I will respectfully disagree with you. Anyway, this first story, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I'm serious now. I genuinely don't. I've heard about this. I wanted to talk about it. I've got an article pulled up. So, I mean, let's get into this. Did you guys hear about former CNN anchor Jim Acosta interviewing an AI avatar of a Parkland shooting victim? This is the craziest thing I have ever heard of. I mean, I'm gonna read you the story, and I'd like to get your comments on this. I really would. This is just crazy and bizarre. Good evening, Miss Jessica. We's glad to have you here. Hang on one second. Got to do some proper hellos. Mwah. Good evening, you gorgeous thing. By the way, folks, follow this young lady on Twitter and on YouTube and everywhere you can find her in social media. Jessica Pensky is one of the best follows in the whole of social media. She is a load of fun and genuinely a great person. She is good people. Absolutely good people. So follow her wherever you can and check her out. All right, let's get into this story. Like I said, I've never heard about something like this before. And the headline reads, Jim Acosta blasted on social media after, quote, interviewing AI avatar of Parkland shooting victim. Acosta's conversation with avatar called grotesque and in bad taste. Headline and story by Mark Tomasco, Fox News. We read the following. Former CNN anchor Jim Acosta was slammed on social media after he posted a clip of his interview of an artificially animated avatar of deceased teenager Joaquin Oliver to promote a gun control message on Monday. Working with the gun control group Change the Ref, founded by Oliver's parents, Acosta had a conversation on his Substack account with an avatar created by the father of the son who was killed in the Parkland High School shooting in 2018. Oliver would have turned 25 years old on Monday. Social media users were shocked by Acosta's grotesque interview and slammed the journalist for using the deceased teen's avatar for political content. Now, I've got a snippet of it, and we'll let you guys see it. Like I said, I have never in my life have I ever heard of something like this. I've got various thoughts about Jim Acosta, and I'll get to him here in a minute. But I want you guys to see this because, like I said, I have never come across something like this before in my life. And if you've not, like I said, this runs about 25 seconds. This is a little snippet of what Jim Acosta put out the other day. Watch this.
Joaquin, I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Now, keep in mind, this is an AI-generated image. This young man has been dead now for over 7 years. Watch this.
Great question. I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels seen and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Joaquin.
Okay, now, like I said, that is just a snippet of the interview, okay? And now we'll read a little bit more out of that article from Fox, but that just gives you an idea of what this conversation, if I even use that word, is like. And getting back to that story from Fox, we'll get some reaction to this thing. Because like I said, this is, I have never come across something like this. Well, good evening, Miss Courtney. We're glad to have you in the house as always. Mwah, you beautiful thing, you. Oh my goodness. And by the way, I love how your channel is growing on YouTube. Another great follow, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not subscribed to this young lady on YouTube and following her on Twitter, much like Jessica Fensky, Forest Mommy, give Courtney a follow. She is an absolute doll baby and a sweetheart. But let's get back to that Fox News article, because I want to show you guys the reaction that Acosta got for this. And this came from everybody. You're interviewing an AI recreation of a person who was murdered by a spree killer. One Blue Sky user question, wow, it's hard to accept that no one around you suggested this is probably the worst possible taste. Now, Blue Sky, if you don't know, is basically the Twitter version for lefties. Okay, so he's getting it from lefties more than likely. Another Blue Sky user, Slam Acosta, for promoting the conversation as a, quote, one-of-a-kind interview with Oliver, but instead spoke about the deceased teen's computer-generated avatar. Quote, I'll have a one-of-a-kind interview with Joaquin Oliver. No, you won't. You're talking to a glorified answer machine message, you dingbat. Yeah, I mean, here's another one. You don't have an interview. You're facilitating a grotesque puppet show using grieving parents' heartbreak for a bit. The bar is in hell, and you still have managed to trip on it. Wow. From the right side, Stephen L. Miller, conservative political commentator, not the Stephen Miller in the White House, just for clarification, noted that Acosta's decision to block his post from comments and slammed the journalist for his ghoulish act of talking to AI ghosts. Daily Wire's Ryan Savdrea also weighed in on Acosta's interview, noting on X that the journalist's post seemed to have crossed the line for everyone on Blue Sky. Folks on conservative outlet Town Hall are calling it disturbing. All right, let's talk about this for a few minutes. Now, as y'all might imagine, I have no great love for Jim Acosta for any number of different reasons, okay? Lay aside his political leanings. I think Acosta's a punk. I think he has no respect for anybody to the political right of where he is. I think he's rude. I think he's condescending. That's where I'm at with Acosta. So when a liberal journalist in America does something, I'm usually like, okay, he's a twerp, but okay, he has the right to do it. And does Jim Acosta have the right to do an AI interview? Yeah, he's got the right to do it. I mean, First Amendment doesn't stop him. Now, if on the other hand, he tried to portray this, in my opinion, and again, I'm no lawyer, but if he tried to portray this as an interview with a real person, and it's obviously found out later after the fact, no, this was not a real person, this was an AI generated whatever, okay, that's a whole other can of worms, okay? But if he's fairly representing what this is, yeah, he's got the right to do it. He's got the First Amendment to protect him. He's got freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Should he be doing it? Oh, heck no. This is just in bad taste in so many different ways. And I mean, the fact that you've got people on the political left and the political right just absolutely hammering Jim Acosta over this ought to tell you just how in bad taste this was. Now that part is true. What Courtney's saying here is absolutely correct. The AI image was created by the parents, because keep in mind the parents are heavily involved in a pro gun control organization, and maybe they thought this was a way to reach young people in the 21st century with their message. I don't know. I don't know what his parents were thinking about when they came up with this idea with Jim Acosta. Maybe they're the ones that pitched it to Acosta and he just ran with it. Okay, we don't know. TBA over on Rumble says Acosta is free to be stupid too. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. WWG1 says, hey, Brian, how do you know that you aren't AI? Well, you don't know. Well, sir, I rest assured I am not AI. Believe me, could AI be as possibly as stupid as I am doing this live stream? Seriously? Would a computer mess up as many different things on my live stream as I do? Of course I'm not AI. Only a human being like me can mess up a live stream as often as I do with this thing. So, I mean, no, I'm not AI. Absolutely not. Oh, well, okay. Maybe this is possible too. Maybe the parents were paid. Acosta gave him money or whatever. It just, I don't think personally, it's just the bad taste of it that bothers me. Although it really does. I mean, this is just in so many ways distasteful, tawdry. I mean, I don't think there's a word yet to describe this interview that is not wholly appropriate. Okay. But there is one angle of it that I want to talk about for a second. And I want to get your guys's take on this. Let me be perfectly honest with you guys for a second, okay? If you hadn't told me before I watched that 25-second clip that was AI generated and an avatar, I might have believed that was real. Now, I say might because odds are I would have figured out, hey, his speech pattern's a little too robotic. I mean, and I'm not trying to, I'm trying to be honest about this. That thing just might have fooled me. Okay. And I'm not saying that to puff myself up or put myself down. I'm just being completely honest here. If you hadn't told me in advance that was an AI generated avatar of a 25-year-old person, okay, I might have believed it. And to me, laying aside the questions of free speech, laying aside the questions of freedom of the press, laying aside the appropriateness or the distastefulness of it, that interview to me is, I think, a precursor of where we're headed. And I'm not going to lie, it scares me to death. Good evening, Miss Gypsy. You are late, but you are always welcome, my dear. Always welcome. I'm not going to lie. That was frightening. And I know, I'm supposed to be, like I'm supposed to be media savvy and recognize, AI is the new wave of the future and everything else. Folks, stop and think about it for just 1 second. And I'm not trying to scare people here. But this is something to think about. To a lot of people, if they didn't know that was AI generated and you told them that Jim Acosta was doing an interview with Joaquin Oliver, a survivor of the Parkland shooting, they might have believed it. I'll give you an example. My mother, and maybe she wouldn't have been fooled. I don't know. My mom is 88 years old. If I showed her that 25-second clip, I almost guarantee you she would have known it was a fake until after the fact, and I told her. What I'm getting at is this. We are reaching, to me, an extremely dangerous point where we're not going to be able to tell reality from a computer-generated artificial intelligence image anymore. Now, you might sit out there and scoff at that statement. And you know what? I would totally understand if you do. I really would. But you give it a few more years, You give it a few more years, and if Jim Acosta tried something like that again, he might damn well pull it off so that nobody is able to tell the difference. That's how good artificial intelligence is going to be at creating that kind of imagery. And folks, they say we're living in a post-truth world now. I'm not going to lie to you. If that's where we're headed, I'm terrified because we're not going to know the truth. I mean, it's hard enough now to discern the truth from the lie. But when you have computers, and let's be honest, that's what artificial intelligence is. It's an overglorified computer that can think. When you have AI that can generate images like the one we just saw, yeah, right now we could probably still tell. We can probably still tell, oh, okay, that's fake. Not for much longer. AI is going to impact, and it's already having impacts. Okay? AI is going to impact everything. The news industry, information gathering, all of it. And, I just think we're heading for something that's just dreadfully frightening. And nobody, it's like one of my favorite lines from the movie Jurassic Park. You spent so much time figuring out how to do it, you didn't stop long enough to ask if you should. We, as not just the American society, but as a world, we are barreling downhill toward this AI future with no concept at all of what the restraints on it should be. Or for that matter, are we even going to be able to have restraints on it? TBA over on Rumble says in 2050, the children born in that year will never know what a world looks like without artificial intelligence. Brother, you may be right. WWG1 says, it sucks having a toaster that is smarter than you are, doesn't it? And I was like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Zippy's in the house tonight. Let me say hello to the old boy. That cat finally woke up, bless his heart. Oh, my goodness. Oh, God, brother. Yeah, yard work in the summer truly does suck. You ain't wrong there. Zippy with a Rumble rant says, I live, but I'm melting. Thank you for the Rumble rant, Zippy. I genuinely do appreciate that. And we're glad to have you here, brother. Ruben weighs in on this. Moot point, officially since 2012, the U.S. government has been lying to us, so do your own research. This would lean into digital ID and this the end game. So I am working to stop it. Yes, I am. Brother, I don't disagree with the word you just said. But I mean, to me, and again, I'm kind of an old-fashioned kind of a guy, all right? I get it. I'm not up to date with all the trends and everything else, but watching that, again, laying aside my dislike for Acosta, laying aside the questions about the First Amendment, freedom of speech, the appropriateness of it, that was frightening. That was just absolutely frightening. Because, and I'm serious about this, and you guys are you're at liberty to disagree with me if you want to, but in a few more years, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between the AI and the reality. And I really hope I'm wrong. And I also hope I'm wrong about the lack of thought or consideration that we're giving to this. We're just barreling ahead. Oh, AI is the future. AI is wonderful. AI is fantastic. What kind of restraints do you have on AI? What kind of restraints are we going to be able to put on AI? The professor's in the house. Christian Watson is here. Another person on YouTube that you ought to be following. Another person on Twitter you ought to be giving a shout out to. Give him a follow in both places. One of the best young political philosophers out there coming or going. He will absolutely make you think. Follow this guy everywhere you can. And the professor says the following, a point to pose. There is already an emerging AI detection industry that is offering services to discern AI generated content from human generated content. This industry will be the antidote to this. Okay, fair point. And if that is happening, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Christian, like I say, I'm something of in some respects, I am an old fuddy-duddy. And, I'm looking at this going, holy cow. My question is, what kind of restraint? What kind of restraint is being offered here? Are we going to be able to put limits on AI? There's another question. Should we put limits on AI? I just worry that we're spending, like I said, to borrow a line from that movie, we're spending so much time figuring out how to do it, we're not stopping long enough to ask if we should. That's the part that frightens me. I don't know. So Ruben says no limits on it. Okay. Gypsy says the majority is sleepwalking into AI and they don't know or give a shite. You may be right. No, I think you were lucky, Brian. When you grew up, the truth was both easier and harder to find. There was no internet. The ability to fake something on a mass scale was much harder. Christian, I thank you for that compliment, and I think you're right. I think I was born in a better time, as some of my audience members were. On this, I totally agree with. We are heading into tumultuous waters. Zippy with another Rumble rant. Fraud laws should be enough to deal with AI, but never stop them making new gun laws. True. You may be right, sir. TBA says, like ChatGPT and other AI generated answer machines, AI will get stupider as time goes on. I don't know, man. I don't know. WWG1 says, don't forget the realistic robots being developed in Japan. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm not a caveman, nor am I a Neanderthal. I recognize, and for the record, I utilize certain kinds of technology to make my life easier. Okay. I'm not saying that I want to see us go back to the dark ages or what have you. I'm just saying, I just don't think we're really thinking about this. I don't think we're considering all the implications. We're so busy figuring out how to do it. We're not stopping long enough to ask if we should, or maybe it's better to say, ask how to do it. And I think this Acosta interview that he did really drives home the point. It really does. WWG1 says, degenerative AI refers to the potential for AI models, particularly generative AI systems, to degrade in performance or accuracy over time, especially when trained on their own generated output. Oh, that's what you mean by stupider and stupider that TBA was referring to. Okay, possible. Yeah, it just, like I say, I saw that news article about that Acosta interview, and it really got me thinking. And I just want to get you guys' take on it, and I appreciate every comment that we've had, and everything you guys have said. Genuinely do appreciate it. Hang on a minute, folks. Hang on a minute. WWG1 is challenging me on something. I gotta check this out. Hold on. Oh my word. Okay. I will WWG1, I saw what you sent. And I will put this up a little later because I don't want to just follow up the conversation we had with this meme or image, I should say. But sir, I must say, well played. Well played. God. Let's see. Zippy says, did we ever think the iron works in the steel industry? Did we ever think about the computer industry? Humans do not think, they just do. Well, okay, fair point. My good buddy Ruben says 99% of using AI via prompts. Most are not using it to its full potential. I have by own built personal AI. All you need is the data. I feed it, so it is a second brain. Interesting. Part of the terrifying aspect, Lana says, part of the terrifying aspects of AI is the veneer of reality it has and our reliance on it. There were attorneys who got in trouble using it in a court filing. These, quote, cases cited were, ooh, really? Did not know that. Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Okay. All right. Tell you what, we're going to shift topics. But before we do, let me do a really quick commercial since it's almost the top of the hour. If you have found your way to this live stream and you're looking at me and you're saying, who is that handsome devil in the fedora? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce myself. My name is Brian Trippett, and I am known as the Front Porch Conservative. This live stream is called the Wednesday Night Newsroom. We get together, we talk about things going on out in the world. We get to give our opinions about it, both the host and the audience. And we try and figure out this crazy thing we call life. If this is your kind of cup of tea, your brand of bourbon, your shot of vodka, whatever you want to call it, then do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel on YouTube and Rumble. I would genuinely appreciate it. And while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and hit the thumbs up button on both Rumble and YouTube. Leave a comment on both sides. Believe it or not, it really does help push this channel out to people who maybe never seen it before. While you're at it, share the link around, hit the bell for notifications. That way you're always aware when we're going live. All right. Let us move to a different compartment of the train, as it were, and get into a discussion of, again, I know what I think about this, but I'm not necessarily surprised that it's finally happened after all these years. I mean, after all, the man's 71 years old. Howard Stern is apparently, and I say apparently, Howard Stern apparently is on his way to being unemployed. If you believe the article that posted yesterday at thesun.com, let me go ahead and put this up for you guys. Now, for those of you that don't know, Howard has had an absolute amazing run financially on Sirius satellite radio. TVA, he apparently 71 years old. Let me get this article up here and we'll get this conversation started because, again, much like Jim Acosta, I've got thoughts about this. So in case you haven't seen it, and I will drop this in on both sides, this story broke yesterday evening in the U.S. Sun. Bye-bye Bowie. The Howard Stern Show, quote, to be canceled after nearly 20 years on Sirius XM as his $100 million contract is up later this year. The king of all media's lucrative deal ends in late 2025. Article by Jessica Finn, we have the following. The iconic Howard Stern Show on Sirius XM is set to be canceled after a stunning 20-year run, sources exclusively told the U.S. Sun. Stern, 71 years old, who has had a megabucks contract for decades at the subscription satellite radio provider, will likely cut some sort of deal for Sirius to keep his catalog upon his exit, sources say. Reading further into the article, God, look at that. That is Howard Stern back in 1983 at WNBC in New York City. Holy cow. Quote, Stern's contract is up in the fall, and while Sirius is planning to make him an offer, they don't intend for him to take it. One insider said of the impending end of the shock jock's latest 5-year contract. Quote, Sirius and Stern are never going to meet on the money he is going to want. It is no longer worth the investment. The insider added that fans may expect Sirius to strike a deal for his library. Quote, but as far as him coming back to do the show, there's no way they can keep paying him his salary, the source said. After what you saw happen with Stephen Colbert, it's like they just can't afford to keep him going. Another source said Stern's political leanings are also not working in his favor. Quote, if Sirius isn't going to give Stern a good offer, I don't think it would have anything to do with the ratings, the source claimed. It is more likely everything to do with the political climate. Stern has been an outspoken critic of President Donald Trump. Stern famously interviewed presidential hopeful Vice President Kamala Harris in the run-up to the 2024 election. Harris's decision to appear on Stern's show was slammed by many Republicans who accused her of avoiding a number of mainstream media appearances. Sirius XM and Stern did not respond to the Sun's request for comment. Okay. I got some thoughts about this. Shockingly, yes, he is, dear. He is still doing a show. Amazingly. I know. Yeah. If this is true, let's just be very clear about this. If this is true, yeah, finally. Okay. Howard Stern is a lot of things. Howard Stern is the last of the great shock jocks. Okay. His legendary predecessor was the late Don Imus. And there have been others. And there are still some who try to be Don Imus or Howard Stern or Opie and Anthony. Okay. And Anthony Cumia is still out there doing a radio show these days. But Stern is one of the last of the great shock jocks. And you know what? At the time that Howard Stern cut the deal, I don't blame him. I don't even blame Sirius at the time. But I do think the article from the U.S. Sun is absolutely right. There's two things. If this is true, let's just be very clear about this. If this is true, then I think the article's right. Number one, you cannot afford to keep paying a guy over $100 million a year. Matter of fact, hang on a minute. I got to find the exact number on this. What is Howard Stern's contract with Sirius XM? A 5-year, okay. This guy is getting over $100 million a year. A year on Sirius XM radio. So that's what he's getting. Much revenue is Sirius making every year. Okay. I haven't got the ability to show it to you. But annual revenue for Sirius XM on a trailing 12-month period, $8.5 billion. Now, you might sit there and say, oh, $8.5 billion, they can afford Howard Stern. No, I don't think they can. I don't think so, because you got to factor in there are other costs involved with keeping Sirius XM has been on its last legs for years now. Okay. How they're even staying up, I have no idea. I don't know. So yeah, I think it's if this comes true, I think it's a combination of the money, and I also think it's a combination of the politics. Look, do I think that Sirius XM is run by a bunch of conservatives who are like, oh, I don't like, his politics? No, but they're smart enough to understand the people who buy their product. And you cannot go out of your way, like Howard Stern has done, to tick off such a portion of your base that no one wants to listen to you or buy the product that you are housed on. Now, like I said, I think Stern is disgusting. I think he's a pig. There have been things that he's done over the years on his show that absolutely, forget just distasteful. I mean, you could make an argument that he led to the death of actress Dana Plano. If you remember Dana Plano, she used to play on Different Strokes, and she had been in and out of trouble with the law, drugs, got sober, got clean, went on Howard Stern's show. He was merciless to her. The audience was merciless to her. And 2 or 3 days later, she committed suicide. So, I mean, in one sense, am I happy to see Howard Stern off the... Yeah, in one sense I am, because I think he's a pig and I don't think he should. Do I think he should have the right to, broadcast the way he does? Yeah, he's got the right to do it. It's called freedom of speech. If you don't like him, don't listen to him. Yeah, isn't it rich that he tells people to tax us more? Yeah, true. Oh, okay. Well, and people have said this about him for years, that Howard doesn't have his fastball anymore. Hasn't been a shock jock for. Well, maybe that may be the case. That may be the case. WWG1 asks a question: when did Howard Stern go from terrestrial radio to Sirius XM? Do you remember? Yeah, that's a good question. Hang on a second. I don't know, but I can find out real fast. When did... I want to say it was the early 2000s. Did Howard Stern start with Sirius XM? 2006. So it's been almost 20 years. Almost 20 years. To answer your question, WWG1. And, Howard hasn't been funny for a long time. Again, not that I even listen to him a lot. And as far as I'm concerned, he's got the right to his politics. But when people don't listen to you because you've so offended them, don't get shocked when your employer, in this case, Sirius XM Radio, says, Howard, we love you, but we can't afford you anymore. Especially in the face of declining revenue, which they are now starting to experience and have been now for a few years. Zippy over on Rumble with another Rumble rant. Thank you very much for that, sir. Too much competition. No one can afford big talking heads anymore. See, I disagree with that slightly, Zippy, and I'll tell you why. People will pay for quality. Okay? Rush Limbaugh, up until the time he died, people were willing to pay the advertising rates to have their product on his show. Because, as he's fond of saying, my job is to attract the biggest audience possible and hold it. And he did. I don't know if it's an issue that no one can afford big talking heads anymore. I think it's an issue people can't afford talking heads who are not funny and have no talent. Now, there was a time that Howard Stern, regardless of my distaste or dislike for his content, Howard was good. He really was. Howard, when he wants to do it, can do a great interview. I'm serious. Oh, I mean, I used to watch, he used to simulcast on the E Network. They used to run a simulcast of his show. They put TV cameras in his studio when he was in New York City. And when Howard really wants to do it, he could do a great interview. He really can. And there was a time when Howard Stern was funny and talented. Again, you can not like his humor. I didn't like most of it. Okay. But there were moments he could do great interviews. You know, not so much anymore. Howard is one of those people who I'm not going to listen to unless he has a really great guest. Yeah, I mean, if he announced that he had a certain person coming on his show, man or woman, didn't matter. Yeah, I might tune in for that. Lana and other people probably have tuned in as well. But I get the funny feeling Howard outlived his. I don't want to say this. I get the funny feeling Howard should have hung it up about 10 years ago. Seriously. TBA over on Rumble says Stern lost what was left of his marbles during COVID. Oh, that's real. That's really true. Hang on a second, folks. When COVID came around, there's germaphobes, and then there was Howard Stern. His wife, according to reports, was furious with him. He'd never leave the house. He would berate staff members for certain lifestyle choices that, you and I would consider to be perfectly normal. And he would if he found out you were doing something that went against the COVID protocols or whatever, he'd go off. If I remember this correctly, his longtime producer, Baba Booey, that was his nickname. Gary, God, his name's escaping me right now. But his son was on the show for whatever reason. And the subject, somehow a COVID-related topic came up. Howard berated this poor kid to the point his dad was like, Howard, dude. Yeah, I mean, something along the lines of, aren't you worried about making your dad sick? Can you really believe you're behaving like this? I mean, that sort of stuff. And I mean, TBA's right. He lost his marbles during COVID. Totally did. So, folks, and here's the interesting part. I can remember the countdown to when Johnny Carson left the air. I'll make a prediction right now. There's not going to be too many people sad when Howard Stern goes off the air if he does come late this year. You watch. I will not be surprised if come later this year, if Stern, goes off the air, you're not going to have the kind of outpouring over Howard that you've had for other people who left the airwaves. Just my prediction. Anyway, there's some thoughts on that. All right, what else is going on here? Did you guys hear what happened to Big Balls? No, just trust me on this. Trust me on this. We're going to a different story. Did you guys hear what happened? The ex-Doge staffer who had the nickname Big Balls? Did you hear what happened to this poor kid? Holy cow. I got a story here from the New York Post. And this I tell you what, Washington, D.C. is absolutely falling apart. Check this out. Headline, ex-Doge staffer nicknamed Big Balls left bloodied after savage D.C. carjacking attempt by 10 juveniles. Article by Victor Nava and Josh Christensen. We've got the following. Dateline, Washington, D.C. A 19-year-old former Department of Government Efficiency staffer was beaten and bloodied by a mob of 10 minors early Sunday as he thwarted a carjacking attempt in the nation's capital, according to D.C. police. Edward Corsetine, whose LinkedIn handle earned him the nickname Big Balls at Doge, was with a woman near downtown D.C. when he saw the group of juveniles approach their car and, quote, make a comment about taking the vehicle, according to a Metropolitan Police Department incident report obtained by the Post. Quote, at this point, for her safety, Corsetine pushed his significant other into the vehicle and turned to deal with the suspects, the dramatic report continues. The suspects then began to assault Corsetine, the ex-Doge staffer told officers, who rolled up on the scene at the same time he was being attacked. Officers patrolling the 1400 block of Swan Street Northwest, a popular area with several shops, bars, and restaurants about a mile north of the White House, noticed, quote, a group of approximately 10 juveniles surrounding the complainant's vehicle and assaulting Corsetine, the report said. The officers immediately exited their vehicle and the juveniles began to flee on foot. D.C. police were able to nab two of the young suspects, who were later positively identified by Corsetine as being among the attackers. And here's a picture of the poor guy. Jeez. They beat the crap out of the poor kid. Holy cow. My goodness. A little further into the article. A 15-year-old male and a 15-year-old female, both from nearby Hyattsville, Maryland, were arrested and charged with unarmed carjacking. Corsetine was treated on scene by D.C. Fire and EMS for injuries sustained in the assault, according to D.C. police. He is recovering from a broken nose, concussion, and a black eye, according to a source familiar with the matter. The group of teenagers shouted about taking the woman's car and then ran across the street just before they started to beat Corsetine, a source said. Corsetine then pushed his female companion into the driver's seat and slammed the door. The gang tried to open the closed doors and slammed Corsetine against the car extremely loudly while attacking him, the source added, noting that the woman called 911 from inside the vehicle while Corsetine was being beaten. The software whiz also had his iPhone 16 valued at $1,000 stolen during the attack. Gee whiz. Wow. Just unbelievable. Yeah, the dude is absolutely a hero. Totally a hero. Well, yeah, hopefully they did. And this is just pushing more and more for something that some people think ought to have happened a long time ago. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but more and more people are coming to the conclusion that something's got to be done about this, and some people are ready to take some pretty drastic measures. Here's a Truth Social post from President Trump. Crime in Washington is totally out of control. Local, quote, youths and gang members, some of them 14, 15, 16 years old, are randomly attacking and mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens at the same time knowing that they will almost immediately be released. They're not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing will happen to them, but it's going to happen now. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly, for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together, and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be, and put criminals on notice they're not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man and so many others would not have to go through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize this city. Make America great again. I truly hope it does not come to this. I truly hope it does not come to this. TBA says, watch for Trump to federalize D.C., removing its corporate charter. You know, I need to reach out to somebody who really understands this subject, because, and if you guys know, fill me in. Does this take congressional action and the president's signature, or can the president just do this unilaterally on his own? You know, TBA says there will be military in D.C. patrolling the streets. God, I do not want to see that happen. I don't. I mean, and that gets to another question. If we do this, if Trump does this, what's next? Baltimore? Philadelphia? New York City? LA? What are we going to do? Take over, disband these governments, these local municipalities, and just start putting in federal government control? I hope this does not come to this. I really hope it doesn't come to this. But I mean, Marion Bowser, who's the mayor of D.C., I'm sorry, I just don't think she's very effective. Now, again, maybe this is just one incident, and people say, okay, one incident is totally out of control, TBA over on Rumble says the president has the power to take over any city and state that won't hold up the U.S. Constitution. Uphold, excuse me. That will not uphold. WWG1 says, well, Lincoln did it. Yeah, but just because Lincoln did it, know. TBA says, tell that to Seth Rich. Okay, good point. Going back to the Cincinnati incident, Lana says, those idiots didn't even call for an ambulance. Whoa. You mean that young lady that got so horrendously knocked down in the streets? They didn't even call for an ambulance? Holy cow. I tell you what, somebody is begging to be sued in Cincinnati. Absolutely begging for it. Oh, goodness me. Wow. They did not even call for an ambulance for that poor woman. Yeah, for those of you who may not know what I'm referring to, I had Lana on the live stream last Wednesday, and we got into a discussion of the young lady who was knocked to the ground, black-eyed, concussion. I mean, bless her heart, she looked horrible. And apparently, and not apparently, but I mean, I take Lana at her absolute word on this, they never even called for an ambulance. Oh, that's what they're calling it, Cincinnati? Kind of an appropriate name, brother. Kind of an appropriate name. Wow. Just unbelievable. But yeah, that's what's going on in D.C. right now. And God, I pray that we are not going to have the feds take over D.C. Don't get me wrong. The problems need to be resolved. I just don't think federalizing control of the nation's capital is the best way to go with it. But if somebody's got a better idea, please tell me about it. All right. What else do we have in the way of news that's going on? Oh, you know what? I'm going to shorten this just a little bit. I think I'll save that one story for Saturday. WWG1, I cannot. All right. I'm going to prove to WWG1 once and for all that I am not some kind of self-censor on his memes. Ladies and gentlemen, just be warned. Just be warned. This is coming from WWG1. There, sir. Never let it be said that I censored your memes. Okay? So, take that. Take that. That is all I am saying, sir. Really? There you go. And by the way, folks, he and TBA have been throwing these things in the Rumble chat all night long. Fortunately, the cleaning staff at the electronic front porch have been getting these up so that, you guys didn't have to suffer with them. So there you go. They've been throwing these at me all night long from over there on Rumble. So never let it be said, WWG1, that I ever censored you. So there you go. See, the abuse your host has to take. crazy. All right, one last story. We're going to bring this train into the station. And I don't know if you guys have seen this or not. I'll save some of the story. I'll save one story that I was going to do. I'll do it for this weekend. And yes, we are going to have front porch brunch. But there might be something of a breakthrough getting ready to happen in the Russia-Ukraine war. Zippy with a Rumble rant says, those funny hilts feel... I don't want to know how they feel in your hand, Zippy. That's just, keep that to yourself. Oy vey. Anyway, we may be on the edge of a breakthrough in the Russia-Ukraine war. I've got something here from, and I'll let you guys see it. Ladies and gentlemen, check this out.
We want to get to. We want to get this in. It's a huge breaking story. President Trump reportedly set to meet face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin as early as next week. This comes right off of Steve Witkoff's meeting with Putin. Senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy fills us in on this huge development. Hi, Peter.
And Martha, I see the Chiron, we're citing a report. We can confirm that report. I was just in the West Wing, and I'm told that this is what happened. Earlier today in Moscow, Steve Witkoff was told by Vladimir Putin that Putin wants to meet at some point with Trump. Witkoff then relayed that message to the president, who is open to it, the possibility of a meeting as soon as next week, if the result of that meeting will be an end to the war in Ukraine. We know that President Trump was on a phone call with Volodymyr Zelensky and some European leaders. He shared this with all of them. We don't know exactly where in the world it would be. It could be anywhere, could be at the White House, could be in a neutral country like Qatar or Switzerland or something, the people that normally host things like this. And I have a statement from Caroline Leavitt, hot off the presses. Haven't seen this anywhere. It says, as President Trump said earlier today on Truth Social, great progress was made during Special Envoy Witkoff's meeting with President Putin. The Russians expressed their desire to meet with President Trump, and the president is open to meeting with both President Putin and President Zelensky. President Trump wants this brutal war to end. And so the emphasis there is on the Russians making this request, but President Trump obviously being open enough to it that there could be a global summit between Putin, Trump, and Zelensky as soon as next week. But there's also a possibility that it slides, and there's also a possibility that it never happens. But it could happen as soon as next week.
Okay, I got some comments about this, and I'd like to get y'all's reaction to it. I personally hope that this happens. I hope Trump takes the meeting. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Because I want Vladimir Putin to straighten him out. Yeah, you heard me. I hope Trump takes this meeting with Putin so Putin can straighten him out. What am I talking about? From everything I'm hearing, and again, I'm just a guy that listens to the news, hear different people's takes on it, what have you. I keep getting the feeling that Trump is being badly served with a bunch of bad information. Okay? And again, I could be totally wrong. I mean, the president has access to information that I don't. I get it. I understand. Okay? But everything Trump is hearing, I don't think is accurately reflecting what's going on the ground in Ukraine. The Russians are right on the verge of taking the daggone country. You give them another 4 or 5 weeks, they could be on the steps of Kiev at the rate things are going, or they'll get real close. Trump keeps making it out like, the Russians are getting, they're losing more men. The Russians are the ones that, no, it's quite the opposite. I hope Trump takes the meeting with Putin so Putin can sit down with him and say, I don't know what you're being told, but here's the truth. And you can choose to believe me if you're not. And it's sad that I'm sitting here saying I want an American president to be schooled by another world leader. But it's got to happen. Something's got to break Trump loose here. This war in Ukraine could have ended a long time ago. All Trump's got to do is cut them off. You know what, Jessica? For the record, I don't disagree with you on this. I think Vladimir Putin would be an absolutely fascinating person to have a conversation with. And again, I'm not trying to sit here, make Putin out to be something that he's not. I mean, I recognize the fact that, if he needs to do it, he can be a ruthless individual. In the defense of his nation, there's probably very little that Vladimir Putin either would not do personally or would not authorize to be done. But I think the man would be fascinating to sit down and have a conversation with. About history, about geopolitics. I think it'd be amazing to have a conversation with him. I really do. I think, Jessica, dear, I think you and Vladimir would get along well. How his wife's going to feel about that's a whole other issue. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, personally, for my part, I am almost jealous of Tucker Carlson from a couple of years ago when he got that interview with Putin. Because that had been a fascinating interview for him to do. Now, I don't know what I think Putin didn't think much of Tucker Carlson, which is perfectly fine. He's under no obligation to think more or less of somebody who does an interview with him. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that, Lana. We made this mess. It's about time we try and fix it. TBA over on Rumble says, I'm sure that Trump doesn't get all of his news from the mainstream media. I'm willing to bet he knows way more than we think he does. This war in Ukraine was all about cleaning up the deep state that's been plaguing all the rest of us with debt and tax and slavery. Putin has done the world a favor by taking on the effers in Ukraine. Just my opinion. Remember all the U.S.-funded bioweapon labs in Ukraine? Yeah, Putin got rid of those too. Jessica, my dear. WWG1 over on Rumble says, Jessica's looking at that pic of Vladimir Putin shirtless on that horse. She does not care about his politics, LOL. I disagree, sir. I'm sure that Miss Jessica was not even beginning to think about the picture of Vladimir Putin shirtless on his horse. I'm sure that was the last thing on Jessica's mind. Pay him no mind, dear. That's just slander, I say. No, apparently I'm wrong. Okay, I'm wrong. She was thinking about Vladimir Putin shirtless on a horse. Never mind. Apparently I don't know my audience that well. Hey, jeez. Oh, goodness me. Yeah, I think now that you mention it, that is exactly what Putin said about Tucker after the interview. But look, in all seriousness, this meeting needs to happen. As a matter of fact, it's long overdue. I could sit here. Look, in my ideal world, the minute that Donald Trump was sworn in, he cuts off the intelligence to Ukraine, he cuts off the money to Ukraine, cuts off the weapons, and the war is over probably inside of 6 weeks. I think there are some people around him who fed him bad information, and it's dragged this thing on longer than it needs to, and it's causing consequences in other places. We're slapping tariffs on countries who are just simply doing business with Russia, which is crazy to me. On a side note, what's the difference between Donald Trump's position on the Ukraine war versus Joe Biden? Not much. So I really hope this meeting happens, if for no other reason than Putin can sit down and at least try and tell him, hey, this is where it is from our side. If you don't want to believe me, fine, but here are the facts and figures. We'll present them to you. What you want to do with it's up to you. We'll see what happens. Zippy over on Rumble says, given the U.S. crony capitalists and Democratic black ops nonsense, Russia kind of has to be harsh and strict to maintain itself as an independent nation. Is it a good guy? No, all are lesser evils. That's a good point. That's a good point, Zippy. Really good point. All right. Let's bring this train into the station. Guys, as always, thank you so very much for being here tonight. You have made the Wednesday night newsroom always a joy. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys here. We will be back this Saturday morning with Front Porch Brunch, our Saturday morning review of news going into the weekend. So, in the meanwhile, congratulations. You have survived to the middle of the week. I'm proud of every last stinking one of you. And I want to thank all you guys for being here. TBA, Zippy, WWG1, other folks over on Rumble who are checking us out tonight. Robert, Jessica, Courtney, Lana, Gypsy, everybody who's been here tonight. Z Highness, Ruben, the good friend, the professor, Christian Watson stopped by. You guys are totally awesome. Like I said, we will be back this Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern for Front Porch Brunch. So in the meanwhile, you guys keep on grinding it out. We'll get to the weekend. And remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, more money." Thanks for being here tonight. I love you. We'll see you this Saturday.